In the world of Fallout, organizations, like players, can be good or evil. Today, we will look at two opposing factions with very interesting, but unfortunately not extensive histories. Let's start with the organization called Littlehorn and Associates. You can only become part of it by performing bad actions that worsen your karma. When and where exactly this company appeared is unknown to the player. Upon reaching level 14, you can choose a perk called Contract Killer, after which, in addition to the effects of the perk itself, you will receive a note from the company Littlehorn and Associates. The note will literally be uploaded into your Pip-Boy directly. It will say that you should come to the specific junkyard in the capital wasteland and visit company's office. Inside, you will be able to meet Daniel Littlehorn, who is the head of the company and will offer you a contract. If successfully concluded, you will be hired. Now, for killing characters with good karma, you can collect their ears. In addition to losing 10 karma, you will have the opportunity to bring ears to Daniel and receive a small reward for them. For each ear, he would pay you 10 cups, and if your karma drops to minus 750, the reward per ear increases to 15 cups. This ends the player's interaction with this organization, and now I propose to examine it in more detail, understanding why this company is bad, and possibly finding out why Daniel needs the ears of individuals with good karma. Upon arriving at the office, you will immediately notice the unusual layout of such small space. 4 office desks are arranged around the edges of the room, in the center of which, directly opposite the entrance, sits Daniel Littlehorn. Behind him is a reproduction of a painting by William Bouguereau, titled Dante and Virgil in Hell, which sets the tone and atmosphere of the organization. The 4 office workers are busy with their tasks and seemingly do not react to the World Dweller. They may well symbolize or even be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. After killing any secretary, literally nothing will happen. No one will be hostile to you. Besides, they will comment on the colleague's death with "better him than me." Setting such a strange atmosphere, you can connect Daniel himself with the Book of Daniel, written 200 years before Christ. I won't take on interpreting the whole book, but I will briefly try to explain what may be connected with the lore from Fallout 3. The prophet Daniel is not at all an embodiment of Daniel Littlehorn. Daniel, along with 3 friends, was taken into Babylonian captivity. Being Jews, they were re-educated and taught Babylonian sciences and culture for future service at the court. They did not renounce the faith of their fathers, for which they were oppressed, and at one point his 3 friends were thrown to fire. At the same time, Daniel was thrown into a den of lions, and they all miraculously survived. Before the fall of Babylon under attack of the Medes, Daniel predicted the state's fate to King Balthazar. During Kira's reign, he explained to him Isaiah's prophecy about Kir, which led to the liberation of the Jews from Babylonian captivity. It is also worth mentioning that the author of the Book of Daniel described a certain crisis that occurred in 167 BC, which was most likely the desecration of the altar in Jerusalem. It is quite possible that the greatest connection with this organization is the vision of Daniel about 4 beasts. In this vision, in front of the Daniel, 4 different beasts appear, which essentially personify kings. The 4th beast that appeared to Daniel is the most terrible. It has bronze claws and large iron teeth. 10 horns grow out of his head, among which a 10th little horn grows, standing out among the others. This little horn had eyes like a man and mouth that spoke boastfully. The 4th beast that came to Daniel in a vision represents the Roman Empire, and the little horn with the eyes and mouth is the Antichrist, who begin to defy God. Most likely, the Antichrist was supposed to be a world leader who would build his power at the expense of 10 other kings or states. Daniel Littlehorn is likely the embodiment of the Antichrist, who should bring chaos and destruction to the wasteland. The ears are a sacrifice needed for this Antichrist to gain power and strength, literally taking away God's power by reducing the number of people who follow the good and divine path. Bringing ears to the Antichrist Antichrist, you essentially transfer God's power to the forces of evil. The 4 secretaries are more likely to be an embodiment of 4 kings or kingdoms mentioned in Daniel's prophecy. The 4 beasts are most likely Greece, Media, Babylonia, and Persia, and with fall of Greece, the Roman Empire was to be formed, and the Antichrist was to appear. It sounds quite confusing, but I hope I managed to explain the image of Daniel Littlehorn and his 4 secretaries in Fallout 3. Now, let's delve into the lore of the organization called the Regulators, which are essentially the opposite of Littlehorn and Associates. They are located in a building called Regulators Headquarters, which is located nearby Littlehorn's junkyard in the capital Wasteland. They appeared relatively recently, about 10 years ago. Their main task is to administer justice and maintain peace and order in the area where they operate. Distinctive features of this organization are cowboy outfits and hats, which at first glance is not particularly surprising, but it is worth remembering that they are on the east coast of America. The Regulators mostly fight against those who oppress ordinary settlers. Their opponents include raiders, slavers, super mutants, Taiwan Company, and of course the Enclave. The Regulators are a secretive organization, and little is known about their structure, way of conducting business, and future plans. Sonora Cruz is the head of the Regulators, and various rumors surround her. It is quite possible that she was once a raider who experienced a memory loss after a head injury, and that changed her views. Now she carries out the will of her patrons, who founded the organization and remain in the shadow. It is known that patrons were previously willing to pay for the scalps of villains, but now the Regulators can accept fingers from the lone wanderer. They conduct their business quite successfully. Some raider groups have gone underground and are hiding because of them. To join them, you need to take the Lawbringer pack upon reaching level 14. Sometimes they issue special contracts for which they are willing to pay you generously. At the steps of the Arlington Cemetery, with the Lawbringer pack, you can find the body of an unknown regulator with a special contract to eliminate a certain Janders Plunkett, who is most likely to be a raider and previously was seen in Canterbury, but now he is located in a house at Arlington Cemetery. He is armed with unique brass knuckle and dressed like a raider. He does not intend to surrender to the lone wanderer, thus you can only fight him. After successful elimination of Janders Plunkett, you can take his finger and bring it to Sonora Cruz along with the contract, after which she will reward you with 1,000 cups. For all other fingers, the Regulators are ready to pay you 5 cups, and if you have a very good karma, the player can receive up to 10 cups per finger, which to be fair is much less than what an evil player can be paid, but nevertheless there are more evil characters in the Wasteland than good ones, and the 1,000 cup contract makes you think about what is more profitable. In the case of achieving very evil karma, the Regulators will declare a hunt for you and sometimes ambush you in certain locations. Apart from Sonora Cruz, another known member of this faction is Megaton's sheriff, Lucas Sims, whom you can meet almost at the beginning of the game. Before the main character arrives, Lucas managed to foil a raider attack on Megaton, whose base is in Springvale Elementary School, and he will be grateful to you for defusing the nuclear bomb in the center of the settlement. It is also worth noting that on the west coast you can also meet organizations with the same name. However, they have absolutely no connection with each other, essentially bearing only the same name. Where the Regulators get their money from remains undisclosed. It is quite obvious that Sonora Cruz patrons may well have some resources. They may be as wealthy as Mr. Tempany, or maybe there are no patrons at all, and the Regulators enrich themselves at the expense of raiders' loot. Personally, I would be interested to observe the development of this faction. It would be quite intriguing to consider that maybe the same people who are behind the Raiders or Taiwan Company founded the Regulators and pit them against each other to pursue their interests and enrich themselves at their expense. That's all for now. If you like this video, you can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, as well as leave your like and comment.